Hello and welcome to the Nope Coach podcast. I'm your host, Suzanne Kohlberg. This is episode 310, Failure to Communicate, the 8 Litres of Ice Cream. So this morning, my husband and I, we drove in to drop the kids at school. We had a few things to do. Drop the kids at school, donate some clothing to the salvos. They have these donation bins, and get some groceries. So over the weekend, we did a big declutter. Casimir, my son, he's 8 years old, has grown like a weed, and most of his old clothing doesn't fit, and some of it wasn't worn for very long at all. He just literally grew past the size. So the plan was we parked up the car at the shopping center near my kids' school. I would walk the kids to school. Jeremy would donate the clothes at the donation station, and then we would meet in Woolworths, which was the supermarket, and pick up our 3 items. So we had to pick up ice cream, waffle cones, and dishwasher pills. So I was like, I'll take the kids, you do the clothes, we'll meet at Woolworths. He's like, yep, okay, cool. So anyway, I take the kids over to school. I drop them off. I walk back, I'm in Woolworths. I get this text message. I have my phone right here. And Jeremy said, I'm waiting outside the Leaf Cafe. Want me to grab you a hot chocolate or a chai? And I thought what he meant was he'd just donated the clothes, then he'd gone to the cafe to get a coffee instead, and I would just do the Woolworths. Like, that's what I figured. So I wrote back and said, no, that's all good. I'll see you there. And I kept going around Woolworths because that's what I was doing, picking up the items. So then when I go outside of Woolworths to meet him at the cafe, carrying the ice cream, I meet him and he's also carrying Woolworths bags. So he also has ice cream. And I was like, why do you have ice cream? I said I was going to Woolies. And he said, well, I did the clothes and I was done. So I went to Woolies and then I figured I'd get a coffee. So I figured he thought I'd dropped the kids off and was just taking a long time. He's like, I don't see how we didn't see each other. And it turns out he went straight for the ice cream and I went straight for the dishwasher pills. And then we crossed paths. So all of this to say, where this gets even funnier is the ice cream that we like was on special 2 for however much. So it's 2 litres. So I figured I'll get 2 flavours. So I got plain vanilla. So if we ever have like, a pie or something, plain vanilla ice cream with it. And then my daughter Xanthi absolutely loves boysenberry. We can't get that a lot here. And when she grows up, she wants to make an ice cream shop that sells purely boysenberry ice cream. I love cookies and cream, but I was like, no, being the awesome mum I am, I will forego my favorite flavor of ice cream to get her the boysenberry. And then when I meet up with Jeremy, he's got the ice cream, also got 2 because it was on special, got vanilla for the same reason, but he bought cookies and cream. So now we have 8 litres of ice cream, 4 litres of vanilla, 2 of cookies and cream, and 2 of boysenberry. So thankfully, we also have 200 dishwasher pills and I don't know how many waffle cones. Thankfully, all of these items are non-perishable, so it's just a matter of finding freezer space. But I just, all the way home, I'm thankful Jeremy was driving because I was laughing so hard I was crying. I was like, how on earth did we have such a failure to communicate? Particularly because I teach boundaries and a big part of boundaries is communication. So let's unpack this if you're still listening and you're not like, what is she on about? The plan, as I saw it, was drop the kids off, go to Woolies. The plan, as Jeremy saw it, was donate the clothes, go to Woolies. Both of us went to Woolies, but for whatever reason, well, Woolies is our supermarket for those outside Australia, we didn't cross paths. He assumed there was no way we couldn't have seen each other. And I didn't know that he was in there. I figured he decided to go to coffee because his message said, I'll go to the Leaf Cafe. Do you want this? So you can clearly see how both of us thought we were being clear to the other. And in our heads, he was like, oh, well, I'll cross paths with her in the supermarket. And I was like, oh, he's just gone for a coffee. And because there's not many items, just left me to the supermarket. And I'm so amused that this is something so trivial. And in the scheme of things, doesn't matter that much. And thankfully, we do have the freezer space to store 8 litres of ice cream. But on a serious matter, or the serious note, how often in our day-to-day lives do we have something like this unfold that's not trivial and we can't see the funny side, and can actually really harm or hurt relationships or friendships because we aren't aware of the other's point of view. We're so adamant that we were being clear that we never pause to question anything outside of it. Like, as I said, this is a trivial example, but he assumed we would have crossed paths in the supermarket. That's a fair assumption. It's not that big of a shop. I assumed that he went to the coffee place instead of Woolworths. He didn't clearly articulate that. Like, he'd been to Woolworths. So, as I said, this happens, and that's why I'm glad for this trivial example to unpack it with. But think of a more serious case where, you know, something has happened and a friendship or a relationship has broken down because of a failure to communicate, and you're both righteous about being right, because technically you are both right, but there's missing pieces of information that you don't see. And how often in life does this happen? And, you know, it does cause ruptures in relationships that aren't repaired because we think we're being really clear. Another, like, totally trivial example, my program, Why Wait, the March cohort is enrolling as we speak. We begin on the 19th of March. If you're listening to this live and you want to check it out, go to suzannekohlberg.com. All the details of the program are there. See, to me, that's me being really, really clear. I sent an email to my list and I said, you know, here's the details of the program. And somebody replied and said, well, when are the call dates? That's a valid question. Like, what time are the calls and when are they? It's listed on the website. So to me, like, my way of thinking, you would have scrolled the website and read, here's when the calls are. But if also, I am also a skimmer. There's a lot of details on suzannekohlberg.com. It could easily be skimmed past. So all of these times where, you know, we think we are being clear, even the person who teaches communications and boundaries and this sort of thing, and someone asks a question, their thing is also legitimate and just as valid. And then that got me thinking, well, I'll send another email and be a lot clearer about here's when the call times are. So when you, like, Why Wait is my life. It's my signature program. I spend so much time and energy on it. I know the ins and outs of how it's presented, where, when, how you catch the replays, the private podcast. Like, I know all the stuff. It doesn't mean that I always articulate it clearly. And sometimes when we have, in one circumstance, clearly articulated something, or we have, but the person's only heard it once, or they've skimmed it and they haven't taken it all in, we can not realize that we haven't communicated it clearly. Another way, this would have to be a topic for a whole other episode, but things to consider. If you look at the 5 love languages, some people communicate via acts of service, like my husband, hey, would you like me to get you a hot chocolate or a chai? Some people communicate via quality time. Some people communicate via gifts. Some people communicate via touch. So if your way isn't aligned with the other person and you're like, you know, I'm saying I love you, words of affirmation, but the other person wants a hug because they want touch, or they want to spend time together because they're quality time. Like, imagine my love language is gifts. My birthday is coming up. And I was like, you know, where's the stuff? And I remember with my husband and I, we've been together 22 years this year. And one of his highest ones is quality time. So on my birthday, he would organize us to, say, go see a movie or have a meal or, you know, spend some time together going to a museum. I'd be like, oh, okay, this is cool, but like, where's my present? And it was this mismatch in communication, because to him, quality time, a day spent together, an activity done together, that's how you show love. But to me, I'm like, so where's the present? And it's realizing that, you know, different people are wired differently, but also beyond love languages is our, like, communication style. Some of us are very visual. I say some of us, it's not me, if you can't tell by the hair. I'm kinesthetic, so does it feel good? And some people auditory. So if you are more likely to pick up something on the visual and it's not presented in a clearly visual way, you might miss something, as opposed to somebody who's more auditory, who listens to things, or somebody who's kinesthetic, who wants to know how does it feel to them. So all of this to say, I've covered a wide range of things in a very short period of time. When we get frustrated, when we get annoyed, when we get like, how could they? yes, there are legitimate things in the world that happen, but especially if it's somebody that you have been close with or somebody who, has never had this happen before, I invite you to consider, has there just been a failure to communicate? Has there been a miscommunication about where, when, or how that both of you thought you were being clear? And for the parents in the room, listening in, let me know. I can't be the only one. Sometimes your kid asks you for something, but you're really not paying attention. You might be preparing school lunches or washing the dishes or fighting with the clothes washer or something. And the kid's like, Mom, or Dad, can I? And you just nod and say yes and whatever. And then they run off going, woohoo! And you're like, what did I just say yes to? Complete failure to communicate. Because there's another thing I didn't even add into this, distraction. If you don't have the person's full attention when you're communicating it, I think mobile phones, cell phones, depending on where you live and what you call them, have made us lazy in a way, because we could just text and message someone and see where they are. Whereas in days gone by, we had to be really clear. Where are we meeting? When? How long does it go for? Because we didn't have that instant communication literally in our pocket. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Hope you're amused by my 8 liters of ice cream. Thank you for joining me. Hope you catch me on the next one. Bye for now.